Hi, my name is Michelle Hoskin and I'm the founder and director of Standards International, and it gives me great pleasure to share with you for a few moments the questions that we get asked from the sector about the new Paraplanner Standard, and I'm going to do my very best to take some time to answer those questions so that the market is able to be in a much better position to understand what this standard is and why it was created. This is a personal achievement and a mission that I've been on for a while, and I was absolutely thrilled when the sector sat up and accepted our invitation to be involved in the drafting of this standard. So without further ado, let's take a look. So it was a very dull, dark Thursday morning in October a few years ago, and I was sitting watching Twitter, as you do while you're eating and drinking a cup of tea. And it was very apparent that the talk that had recently been in the market about the need for a paraplanner standard was quite frankly going nowhere. And as a standards body, this pained me quite a lot. And the reason for that was because I've been working with financial advisors and planners for 20 years. And I have met some amazing businesses, and I've had the privilege personally, as have many of my team, of engaging with some awesome businesses. And the challenge that every single one of them was currently facing, that we were dealing with as of that day, was the lack of available resources available to them that they could use to leverage and build their businesses. This wasn't just in paraplanning, this was in administration, in practice and business management. It was an epidemic, and it was a real big problem across the sector, not just in the UK, but overseas too. A little bit before this particular October morning, I had put out a tweet which said that financial planners will never be able to financially plan unless paraplanners can paraplan. And that was probably by far one of our most retweeted, reshared social media posts that we've ever distributed in the whole 20 years of this business. And why was that? And that was because we have a sector of financial planners that are so desperate to do their job and to be able to deliver those amazing outcomes for clients that they are literally being strangled by the rest of the market because of the lack of available resources. Now, add to this the total mixture of skills and abilities and knowledge and role position that existed within particularly the paraplanner sector. It was causing a problem. An example being that I would sit with a firm and I would be interviewing 3 paraplanners. That role that has been very clearly defined as far as the role I was concerned and they were concerned. And we had 3 totally different individuals sitting in front of us, some with extensive experience but no qualifications, some with no qualifications and very little experience, and some with oodles of qualifications and no experience. Yet every single one of them were demanding humongous salaries, and quite honestly, none of them were any good at their job. That they'd never been a fit for the firm that I was using as this example. So something had to be done, and it wasn't about academic qualifications. As a standards body, we were perfectly placed to support those in the marketplace that wanted a standard, and it was our mission to be able to satisfy that gap that existed to help not just firms and financial planners that were looking to grow their businesses, but new entrants to the sector to understand properly what at an international level a paraplanner was. This was why the standard was created, and this is why it is currently helping a number of firms already and a number of paraplanners that have already embarked on the journey to certification to this standard. Now, I have a very specific opinion of the world, and I have very proudly built an amazing business on those principles and those concepts and those thoughts. But I knew that this was going to involve and needed to involve more than just me. I needed to bring the muscle in. I needed to bring in a group of people that were able to bring a totally different perspective to this role and this sector, a perception and a perspective that I just was not able to bring to the party. We invited paraplanners, award-winning paraplanners, business owners, financial planners, administrators, practice managers, compliance officers, business development managers, you name it, we involved them in the drafting of this committee. The individuals that were involved worked tirelessly as a group to come up with what we believed was the best practice framework for a professional paraplanner. But not just that, we reached out internationally to international contacts, to international representatives who could bring a totally different perspective on the role that was relevant to their countries. We involved representatives from South Africa, from Australia, from Canada, and from America. Now, this gave us huge and amazing insight into what a global paraplanner would look like. The pricing of this standard was a big debate for us as a business. Now, one thing that was a big passion for mine was the value of what is in the actual standard document. The actual published document is immense. Now, it comes in two parts. First of all, we have the actual requirements. So what does the benchmark look like for a professional paraplanner? But not just that, we've also added in I think it's about 11 appendices that are going to help a paraplanner or a trainee paraplanner achieve the requirements of that standard. There's training plans in there. There is training needs analysis. There's CPD planning in there. There's job descriptions. There's organizational charts. All of these key documents are there to serve one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to help the firm that is working with that paraplanner and the paraplanner themselves to achieve their absolute potential, their absolute best version of themselves in line with the requirements of this international standard. So the document is priced at £97. There was lots of talk about giving it away for free, making it more expensive, but it's valuable. And therefore, when things have value, there needs to be a price that is paid for it. We've not priced it too high. It's priced in line with a lot of study guides and materials, in fact, quite a bit cheaper than those, but we wanted to get it out to market. The price is negligible when actually you see the value of what's contained within the actual document itself. This question is one of the questions that the team often refer back to me to answer on a regular basis. And the marketplace in terms of online, magazines, articles is flooded with that, qualifications. I'm chartered status. I've got this exam passed. I've got that exam passed. I've achieved the top of my academic, path. No. Technical knowledge is not enough for a paraplanner. Why do I know that? It's because the firms tell me it's not. And to prove my point, I could go and sit every single exam under the sun and pass them with flying colours. I could walk into a firm tomorrow, sit down in an interview and say, I'm a paraplanner and I have X, Y, and Z academic achievements. The question is very simple. Could I do my job? Absolutely not. Could I be that paraplanner that firm needs? Absolutely not. So what would that firm need? And everything that those firms have been telling us for years and the experience that I've been building over the years with my amazing committee, that is what has gone into that standard. It's more than technical knowledge. It's about behaviors. It's about principles. It's about how well you manage time, how well you manage yourself, how well you lead in relationships, how well that you manage objections. All these qualities, these essential attributes, skills, experiences, these are the magic ingredients that make up today's international professional paraplanner. Qualifications and technical knowledge alone is not enough. It needs more. And when we are positioning this role as an academic, top of its game role, it is often putting off many who want to enter this sector that might not be the most smartest, the most academically qualified individual, but they would make an amazing paraplanner. Because what makes an amazing paraplanner is a broad set of skills, abilities, and key attributes, all of which, when put together, make an international professional paraplanner. And it's that firms are seeking out internationally and within the UK. And this is why this role, when designed in this way as a standard, will be the thing that will change single-handedly the face of financial services forever. This is the key to unlock the conundrum that has been causing so many challenges for firms across the sector. This is the key to unlock those problems. Why did we get involved in it? Because paraplanning is a profession in its own right. But what did I spot on that October morning? I spotted that the chaos that existed within the paraplanning profession, and I'm talking more from the side of the financial planning firms, it was on a destination, it was on a journey to a destination that it was going to destroy itself as a profession before it had even made its mark as a profession. And that was something that we were not prepared to sit back and watch happen. So fundamentally, yes, paraplanning is a profession in its own right. And I have had conversations personally with some very highly profile regulatory representatives and professional standards board representatives who still do not understand the power of this role. I have had, and obviously I can't name names, but I have had an individual who should know better say to me, isn't a paraplanner just a senior administrator? At that point, the fury in my voice must have been so obvious when I had this conversation with them that all I could do was say, I think this conversation has come to an end. And then I referred them to the work that we were doing as a committee. This standard, this profession of financial planners working with professional paraplanners will unlock so much potential within our sector that has never been seen or has never been possible before. And it will only happen when we have a pool, a collective community of paraplanners who all are working within the same standards, the same achievements, the same academic recognition, the same abilities, the same key attributes. That is how we'll turn an industry into a true profession. And it is not by no means a stepping stone to something else. Just consider the qualities that are needed by a paraplanner. They are often a million miles apart from the qualities needed to be a financial planner. And I question on a regular basis paraplanners who say they want to be financial planners. And I always say to them, do you really? Do you know what that role actually really is? And many of them, sadly, they don't. This is a role that exists in its own right. Paraplanners who achieve this standard, and there are many currently working towards the process, should be super proud of what they are trying to achieve, not just for the UK firms, but for those firms internationally. And the international opportunities are also there in abundance for those that have achieved this absolutely best practice framework. I've already said it really. Standards International got involved. We're a standards body. We design standards. We assess standards. We train individuals to achieve standards. It was a logical step for us. You have to remember as well that one of the biggest things within this process for us, that we are not competing against ourselves. It's very difficult for organizations who already have their own designations, their own academic achievements, to then go and launch something else, because ultimately it conflicts with their own thing. We do not. And actually, we didn't care. We knew that there was a gap in the marketplace for a standard, a need, a real desire for this standard. And that is why we got involved and filled the gap. And actually, we were overwhelmed by the interest that we got from the sector in the UK and also from the sector outside of the UK on the support that we have gained from parties who have said, absolutely, this is the most amazing thing. And what is very interesting at the moment, and when you watch this video, I hope by the time that this video needs to be redone, this has changed. And that is that globally, we have seen more interest in this standard than from within the UK. That is a shocking statistic, a shocking position to be in, particularly when we, as a market within the global space, lead the way in so many ways. We will support any individuals and any companies and organisations globally or within the UK that want to achieve this standard for their paraplanners with open arms. And it's just a case of picking up the phone and engaging with us during a conversation. This was one of the big pushbacks, but paraplanners operate so differently in every firm. You could say that about practice managers. You could say that about financial planners. You could say that about financial advisors. Of course they do. Of course they do, because the firms are different. The firms are unique. The clients are unique. The businesses are unique. However, there are a core set of deliverable principles, ethics, behaviors, attributes, abilities that are there in every firm. And that is what we have captured in this standard. We do not want to make it mandatory that one has to do cash flow, and that, it might not be that this particular paraplanner gets involved in cash flow. We're not talking about that at that level. We're talking about the whole person, the whole paraplanner. What do they look like? How do they work? What do they do? What do they believe in? What are their passions? What are their buy-ins to this magical business? What are they trying to achieve? It's that is captured in this amazing standard. And that brief was what was put to the whole committee at the beginning of this whole process. We're standardising the role because we know what awesome looks like, and that is what's gone into this standard. It's an international standard, therefore we have already seen opportunities where we've had contact as a team from clients and associates over in Canada, in Australia, who are looking to develop paraplanners in their market. And we've already put out messages to our contacts to say, would anybody like to go and work in Australia? Would anybody like to? Now, at the moment, we don't have any standards, any paraplanners certified to this standard, but that will change, and it will change soon. And what that will mean is that as an individual, the world is your oyster. Really, fully, the world is your oyster. Not just that, but your training and develop will not just be centered around academic achievements. It's centered around a whole range of different qualities that you need to have and will have as an international professional paraplanner. This is what's so exciting about it for us as a team, as a business, and this is why our firms are fully supportive of the work that's being done in this sector, because they know that this will give them much more scope to grow and build their business, and therefore employ and bring into their team more professional paraplanners. We wanted to price the standard so that it was financially affordable. We didn't want a standard that nobody could afford. However, there is a process that has to go through. The firm has to go through, the paraplanner has to go through, and there was no way we were planning on cutting corners. This standard is not going to make Standards International millionaires. Absolutely not. But it's there because it adds value to the sector. We have priced it fairly and reasonably based on the work that's involved and the value that we are adding. But we are expecting either the firm to pay or the paraplanner. It really does depend on what the setup of the business is. We've had paraplanners want to pay for it themselves for their own professional development because they're not in a paraplanning role in a firm at the moment. Their firm won't support them, but that's another whole conversation, because why wouldn't they? So they're paying for it themselves, and it's affordable to them to do that. We've had firms who have literally said, we want all 9 of our paraplanners to go through this. So we don't know who's going to pay for it, but we've tried to price it so that it's fair and reasonable to the sector as a whole. Now, because of the sector is in a development stage, it's growing as a sector, we have within the standard 3 levels. We have a trainee level, we have a certified level, and we have an advanced certified level. Each level is required to demonstrate different levels of the standard and different elements of the standard. But what happens is, if you are a trainee, you can submit evidence of your training and development plan to us, along with your role profile, and we will approve you as a trainee paraplanner. We then have certified. This is an individual who is at level 4 currently academically, and that can be able to demonstrate a number of requirements within the standard. And then we have advanced certified. This is an individual who would be at level 6 of the academic framework. They may see clients, they may be a CF30, they may be in a position where they give advice, but in the role of a paraplanner, not as a role of a financial advisor or financial planner. On the application form, there is a number of descriptive explanations of which level would be most suitable. But if there's a problem, you're not sure, all you have to do is pick up the phone. This has been a regular occurrence because of where the sector is and how varied the roles are. And we will be very happy to guide you through which element and which level of certification is right for you. No problems at all. How long does it take to achieve the standard? Well, again, as I've done and said in other videos, how long is a piece of string? It depends where you're starting from and which level you're aiming for. We estimate that it's between 1 and 3 years, dependent on if you're starting from absolutely, I've never done this role before, and we've got a number of tools and development tools and techniques and guidelines, all to help you achieve that level, right through to, I'm level 6, I'm a CF30, I just want you to assess me against the requirements of the standard. So it's varied in its length of time it takes, and that will be dependent on the individual. As a trainee, you don't undergo an official assessment. This is an approval process because we want to see that you have a in-place training and development plan. And that's because so many, very interestingly and very sad, that many paraplanners who are in firms actually have no structured development program to become a official paraplanner. They're expected to do the work with very little support and guidance from their business owners or their employers. So we want to see a training and development program that has been designed specifically for you to get you from where you are now to where you want to be. It's not the same as passing exam. We don't do exams. Exams, we believe, are not the way to test you as an individual in your role. Exams have their place, but not when you're assessing against standards. So we do it face-to-face, we do it remotely, we use a portfolio of evidence, we look at case studies, we get feedback from your colleagues, we look at your work, we look at how you manage your time. This is a real physical, roll your sleeves up, get stuck in assessment, because we want to assess you. We're not assessing your knowledge, we're assessing you as the whole person. So it does not, absolutely not, involve no more exams. So if what I've said, and I appreciate that this video has been very in-depth in terms of a bit of background, my passions, as you can probably sense from the video itself, but this is the key to unlock many of the conundrums that exist and the challenges that exist within our sector at the moment. And if you are interested, please pick up the phone, please reach out to us, please take a look at the information on our website. There is no obligation. Let's just talk. Let's just find out where you are. Let's just understand how we can make the standard work for you as an individual who wants to be a paraplanner, or is aspiring to be an advanced paraplanner, or a firm that has a number of paraplanners that aren't really paraplanners, that you want to get some structure to what you're doing in your team. Absolutely, any one of our amazing team will be more than happy to have that conversation with you and get you on the right path.